There was a seat for everyone, except me. I stood in the doorway of the dining room, holding a small wrapped gift with both hands. The house smelled like cinnamon ham and pine needles. Someone had taken the time to light the candles on the table. The name cards were written in pretty handwriting. The crystal glasses caught the soft light. But my name wasn't there. At the head of the table sat my older brother, Colin. He was still broad-shouldered, still wearing that smug smile like it was stuck on his face. He was cutting the honey ham like he owned everything. Maybe he thought he did. Lana, my cousin, sat next to him. She wore one of Mom's old scarves, the pale green silk one Mom saved for Christmas Eve church. Lana sipped her wine like she belonged there, like she had always belonged. I looked around again. Maybe I missed something. Maybe someone pulled out a chair to make room for the pies. But no, the table was full, complete, without me. I turned to Mom, Joyce. She was quietly arranging sweet potatoes topped with marshmallows and avoided looking at me. I opened my mouth to speak, but she looked at the turkey like it had just asked her a question. "I think you forgot my seat," I said. Softly, Colin didn't even stop chewing. Without looking up, he said coldly, "It's outside with the dogs." The room went silent. Lana snorted quietly. One cousin shifted in his chair. A fork clicked on a plate. No one said a word. No one laughed. No one spoke up. My cheeks burned. Didn't know what hurt more, that Colin said it, or that everyone let it stay there like a secret no one would admit. I could have yelled or made a scene, but instead, I stepped forward, put the small box in front of Colin's plate, leaned, close enough for only him to hear, and whispered, "Check under your plate." Then I walked out. I didn't wait for anyone to stop me. I didn't look back. I stepped outside into the cold December night and let the chill remind me I was still alive. When I was little, Christmas was my favorite day in the whole world. Back then, the tree stood by the living room window, not some perfect photo set, but a slightly crooked pine with all our mismatched ornaments collected over the years. Colin and I used to argue over who got to hang the glass reindeer with the broken antler. Dad would stop us, hold the ornament, and say, "This one's for peace. And peace doesn't pick sides." That was Dad, Russell Blake. He smelled like engine oil and cedar chips. He always had a grease stain on his shirt, even on Christmas. But when he smiled, the whole room felt steady. He'd ruffle my hair and say, "You've got grit, kid. You're going to outlast all of us." I didn't know what he meant then. I thought he was joking. Now, I think he saw something I didn't. Colin used to be different too. One winter, we built a snow fort so tall we couldn't see over it. I slipped on the ice, hurt my lip, and he cried harder than I did. He brought me inside yelling for Mom, wrapped me in a blanket, and said, "You're not allowed to die ever." That was the Colin I knew, the one who gave me the last piece of fudge and let me ride shotgun when we went to get firewood. I don't know what happened to him. I don't know when he changed. Mom used to sing while she cooked. Her voice was soft and a little off-key, but I remember how she'd hum Silent Night while peeling potatoes. Sometimes she twirled in her slippers and apron when she thought no one was watching. I always watched. She used to make sure my favorite mug, the white one with faded holly leaves, was waiting on the table with hot cocoa and too many marshmallows. I didn't see it this year. Didn't expect to, but I noticed. What happened to that house? What happened to the people who lived in it? Am I the only one who remembers the good parts? Because somewhere along the way, the laughter got sharp, the warmth faded, and Colin started speaking for the family like it was his story to tell. My voice grew smaller. My name came up less and less, until one day it disappeared. Still, I kept showing up, hoping it was just grief or stress, or that they'd see me. But hope can go blind if you feed it too long. It didn't happen all at once. There was no fight or slammed door. No one yelled, "You're not family anymore." They just stopped including me. At first, it was little things. I called to check on Dad when his memory started slipping, when he forgot tool names or called me that girl on the phone. Colin answered, cheerful as ever. Dad's resting. I'll tell him you called, a few days later. He's in a fog today. Not the best time. Eventually, I stopped hearing Dad's voice altogether. Just updates from Colin, always wrapped in care, always protecting someone. Mom started stepping back too. When I asked how she was, she said, Colin's been such a help. He really knows how to handle things. It's easier when things go through him. At first, I didn't push. I told myself they were tired. Maybe I was just being sensitive. I was living in Austin then, working long hours at a marketing firm. I sent money home every month, paid part of the roof repair without being asked, booked flights home for every big holiday. But I started noticing things. One Christmas, my old stocking was missing from the fireplace. I found it shoved in the back of the hallway closet. The photo of Dad and me, the one from the day he gave me his old toolbox, was gone from the wall. In its place was a new photo of Colin and Lana at the garden center, holding a flat of mums, like they'd just saved the family farm. I told myself it didn't mean anything. Then one Sunday, I logged onto social media and saw pictures from what they called an impromptu family dinner. All of them. Around the same table I used to help set, laughing, toes touching under the chairs I once sanded with Dad. No one called me. No one even mentioned it. When I asked Mom, she said it was last minute. You live so far, we figured you wouldn't want the hassle. She didn't hear how that sounded. Or maybe she did and didn't care. After that, the pattern was clear. Decisions were made without me, about Dad's care, the house, the money. Colin always explained things after the fact, like he was doing me a favor. Didn't want to bother you while you're busy. It's just easier this way. Easier. For who? I wasn't angry yet, just confused, off balance. Like someone slowly turned down the volume on my voice until I couldn't hear it. Myself, they never told me to leave. They just stopped saving me a seat. The first time I realized Lana had moved in, she answered the phone from Mom's kitchen. I could hear the spoon clinking in Mom's favorite mug, the one with cardinals on it. Lana laughed at something. Colin, probably, and said, "Hold on, your mom's elbow deep in pie dough." Your mom? That phrase sat heavy in my chest for days. I asked Mom about it a week later, careful not to sound accusing. Is Lana staying with you now? Just helping out? She's been a godsend. You know how things have been. A godsend. This was the same Lana who, 3 years earlier, borrowed Mom's sapphire earrings and claimed she thought they were hers. The one who lied about a missing checkbook at Thanksgiving. The one who once cried on the porch saying, "I don't know why everyone thinks I'm the bad one." And now she was setting the table I used to set. Wearing Mom's scarves on snowy mornings, leaving handwritten notes on the fridge, taking Mom to physical therapy. At first, I told myself it was practical. They needed someone around, and I hadn't been, at least not physically. But slowly, Lana stopped being just a helper. She became the one who knew where everything was. When I called about Dad's doctor visit, Lana answered. When I sent flowers for Mom's birthday, Lana texted me a thank you with a photo of Mom holding the bouquet next to her. The caption read, "She loved them. Great day." I wasn't in the picture, not in any picture anymore. I started asking questions. Colin's answers were vague. She's just around to help with errands. It's not like she's taking over. But when I came for Dad's memorial, Lana greeted guests at the door. She wore a simple black dress, the same one I'd worn to my uncle's funeral years ago. I recognized the hemline, the way it fell just above the knee. I'd left that dress in the upstairs closet. It wasn't hers. She stood by the coffee table, pouring cider, telling stories about Dad like she'd known him better than I had. People nodded. They smiled. They believed her. And I stood there, coat on, cold, watching my place disappear, piece by piece. Later that night, I tried to talk to Mom. I didn't want to accuse. I just needed to know where I stood. She's just trying to help Marin. You've always been too sensitive about things. That's when I realized it. They hadn't forgotten me. They'd found someone easier to replace me with. 2 months before Christmas, I drove up without calling. I wasn't planning to go inside. Maybe just sit in the driveway, look at the old porch swing and remind myself who I used to be, when this place still felt like mine. But when I pulled up, the driveway was empty. No Colin's truck, no Lana in the window, no movement in the kitchen. I stepped out anyway. My key still worked. The house was quieter than I remembered. No music, no TV, just the hum of the heater and the faint creak of floorboards that still spoke when no one else would. I drifted toward Dad's study. It was the only room no one had rearranged. Everything else felt off, like it was staged to look familiar, but something was missing behind the eyes. But the study, his study, was untouched. The old recliner sagged in the middle. His toolbox sat beneath the bookshelf, paint chipped and rusted. A clock ticked softly by the window, the one with the dusty face and brass hands that always ran 10 minutes slow. Then I saw it. The cabinet in the corner, dark wood with a brass handle. I'd seen Dad open it a dozen times growing up, but never paid attention to what was inside. I knelt and pulled. It stuck at first, then gave way. Inside was a small metal safe. My breath caught. I remembered something, a long time ago. Maybe in high school, Dad tucked a tiny key inside his favorite book. Said it was just in case. I scanned the shelves. Travels with Charlie by Steinbeck. Worn spine, cracked leather. The key was still there. When the safe clicked open, I didn't know what to expect. Old receipts? Nothing? But there it was. An envelope of thick cream paper. My name, written in Dad's hand. I sat down on the floor, knees to chest, and opened it. Inside was a notarized will, dated 2 weeks before he died. Every asset, this house, the savings, the land in Monument Valley, was left to me. Colin wasn't mentioned once, neither was Lana. Behind the will, a folded note, yellowed at the edges. It said, "Marin, I see it now. I didn't before, and I'm sorry. You never asked for anything. You just stayed. You protected me when no one else did. This house is yours. You've earned it. Love, Dad." I didn't cry at the funeral. I cried on that floor. Not for the house. Because in the end, someone saw me. Didn't tell anyone I was coming. I dressed in dark jeans and a navy coat. Nothing dramatic. Nothing that screamed, "Look at me." It was Christmas Eve. The Blake house still had the same uneven string of colored lights blinking. The wreath on. The door was crooked. Someone had replaced the welcome mat. It used to say, "Home is where Dad is." Now it read, "Joyful Season." I knocked once and let myself in. No one heard me at first. The dining room was full again. Colin at the head of the table. Lana to his right, her hand resting lightly on his arm. Mom sat across, smiling in that soft, distant way she reserved for guests. My seat wasn't there again. This time, I didn't flinch. I stepped forward and placed the box in the center of the table. Then I looked straight at Colin. He blinked. "Marin, what are you—" I didn't give him the satisfaction of finishing. "Check under your plate," I said, my voice low but firm. He glanced down, lifted the charger, and found a single key. Old brass, worn smooth from use. Dad's safe key. Colin's eyes flicked back up to me. Confusion first, then something else. Nervousness. Not fear. Not yet. Joyce half rose, her smile fading. "Marin, this isn't— I'm not staying," I said. "Just wanted to drop this off." Lana reached for the box. "Is it a gift?" I looked at her for the first time all evening. Really looked. She flushed and pulled her hand back. Turned toward the door. No one followed. No one asked me to stay. Not really. Colin was already lifting the box's lid. Joyce said, "Wait, what is this?" I was halfway down the front steps before I heard the scrape of chairs and voices rising. Didn't stop. The night air was sharp and cold against my throat. I walked back to my car, sat for a moment in the driver's seat, and let the silence settle. Because what they found in that box wasn't wrapped in anger or spite. It was wrapped in truth. Dad's will. The letter. A small photo. Me and him. Shoulder to shoulder. From the summer I helped him rebuild the fence. Nothing dramatic. Just enough. Let them read it in their own voices, in their own time. Let them sit at that full table, but with one chair always conspicuously empty. Would they still say I was too sensitive? That I imagined it all? And if so, who left that key? The key. Calls started the next morning. First, Joyce. Just a voicemail. "Hi, sweetie. We read what you left. It caught us off guard, that's all. We should talk. I think we all need to breathe and maybe come together as a family. No apology, just caught off guard." Then Colin sent a text. "Can we meet? There's a lot to discuss. I think we all misunderstood each other. Not a word about the will or the letter." Then Lana messaged me. Just a sad face emoji. Nothing else. For a week, I let the messages pile up. They tried confusion, nostalgia, even guilt. "Your dad wouldn't want this rift, Marin. We're still your family. Let's not let bitterness ruin the holidays." But bitterness hadn't ruined anything. Erasure had. And the thing is, I wasn't angry anymore. I didn't want revenge. I didn't want to prove a point. I just didn't want to go back. I didn't block their numbers. I didn't argue. I didn't defend myself. I just stopped responding. I think that unsettled them more than anything else. One afternoon, Colin showed up at my office unannounced. My assistant sent him away. She didn't need my permission. Later she told me, "He didn't look like someone you'd want to see." She was right. A few days later, Mom called again. This time I answered. Her voice was quiet, fragile. "Marin, I think we made mistakes. But this family, it's still yours too." I waited a beat. Then I said, "I was always here. You just lived easier when I wasn't." She didn't respond, not because she disagreed, but because there was nothing left to say. 3 weeks. After Christmas, I mailed one last envelope, no return address. Inside, the original photo of Dad and me. The one from the fence rebuild, the one that had quietly been taken down from the hallway years ago. No note. Didn't need one. A week later, a neighbor sent me a picture. I hadn't asked for it. She just thought I'd want to know. The photo was hung, not inside the Blake house, not over the fireplace, not beside the dining table. It was tacked up in the old shed behind the garden. Dad's tool shed, the one place no one else ever went. There it hung, slightly crooked, above the workbench. Just a girl and her father standing side by side, smiling like the world made sense. No caption, no explanation. I stared at it a long time, then closed my phone. That house may belong to me on paper. But the real inheritance wasn't brick or timber. It was this knowing. I never needed them to admit what they did, because the truth already exists, and it doesn't go away just because you ignore it. I still live in Austin, still drink from that holly mug I took back quietly after the memorial. It chips a little more each winter. I let it. Sometimes people ask if I ever reconciled with my family. I tell them, I was always part of the story. They just wrote around me. Now they don't get to write me out. I never asked to be seen. I just wanted to exist. If you've ever been erased but chose to stay true, leave a single heart.